Whereas the crypto casino people are a little bit more like, they don't even think about that. They're like, no, I just want to play. I want that. I want to bet. I want to win big or lose big. Like that's, how they're thinking about it.
You're listening to 15M Mastering, a show that empowers you with insights from the leading iGaming experts to enhance your personal or business performance. The show is brought to you by tech-driven affiliate and media company Already Media, and supported by the AI-powered data analytics platform Blask. And Yo Investments, a fund manager investing in outstanding people who are disrupting the iGaming, fintech, and crypto industries. Hey everyone, and welcome back to 15M Mastery. Today we're joined once again by Nigel Eccles, CEO and co-founder of BetHog. Nigel is a serial entrepreneur who has built multiple companies in the gaming and gambling space, including FanDuel. In this episode, we explore how crypto-native systems could reshape trust in online betting. Welcome, Nigel.
Thank you.
Let's dive in. So, what do crypto platforms provide that traditional gambling sites don't?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think there's a number of things. One, very clearly, they offer a much better value for money product. Like when you look at RTPs and crypto, it's a lot higher. Here in the US, when I look at casino products, I'm seeing RTPs of like 94%. Whereas, in crypto, we're seeing like 97 to 99%. And as we know in the industry, that's dramatic. That's dramatically better. If I go in with $100, I'm going to have, maybe 6 times more enjoyment, 6 more longer playing on that game than I will with the onshore. So I think that's one of the first ones, like much better price product. Second one that I've seen is just more innovation. Like I think that the innovation happens on the crypto casinos now, not onshore. I think that crypto is a very competitive market. There's sort of less incumbents, like in the UK, in the US, we FanDuel, DraftKings, MGM. This is in the casino space, and they're really locked in. There isn't like a big shift in market share, and whereas I see a lot of more movement in crypto casino. The other thing is crypto casinos have the ability to just try new product. Given that licensing is sort of somewhat lighter, in the onshore world, like it can take like 12 months from inception through to launch. In the crypto space, it's how long does it take you to build it? You build it, you test it, you release it, you iterate, and that's obviously a dramatic. So that means your cycle time could be like 12 times faster, right? Like I can build, iterate, I can build, launch, get feedback, iterate, tweak it, and keep doing that. That just means you can do. And we've seen this, if we think of things like streaming, like provably fair, crash games, these are all things that have come from the crypto world. I think we're going to continue to see over the next 3 to 5 years is the major innovations are going to come from the crypto space.
Yeah, totally agree with you. So you mentioned this probably fair concept. Can you please explain how this works?
Yeah, so just in very simple sort of layman terms, essentially what it does is it provides a user with a string which they can then use after the fact. So say I'm playing blackjack on a provably fair, we will provide you, it's called a hash phrase. And then what you can do is when the game is resolved, you can use it to check that the only way we could have got, so you can confirm that we didn't change anything, that we didn't we provided you before. It's probably even simpler to think of like a plinko ball, whether it falls in the losing one or the winning one, that was defined beforehand. Now, the key thing for us is that the user can't take that hash and identify beforehand whether it's a winner or loser. It could only do it after the fact and say, yes, it was definitely, it hadn't changed. We hadn't changed it. And they can also run it to see that, yes, we are running it at a 99% RTP, which most of our original games are. So it's a great way for the user. A lot of people, fairly enough, are like, well, why should I trust you that you might have changed the odds or you might change the outcome you saw? I put on a big bet and so you you made it a losing bet. And we can show you, no, you can absolutely prove that we didn't do that. Here's a cryptographic proof. And so we do that. And our original games are all provably fair.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds very, I'd say, secure and very trustful because we've come up with a very interesting set of data. Is like more than 300 operators launched weekly, around the world. So you can imagine the amount of like scam and fake operators out there. And it feels like trust is like one of the biggest like nowadays features, I would say, of the operators. So how do crypto actually native platforms build this trust, without them being licensed?
Honestly, it's an amazing, even licensing doesn't necessarily confer trust. And I don't think it should do, because just because I know you're licensed doesn't mean that you're solvent. It doesn't mean that you're not acting. The licensing agency may just not know all the background to you or how you run your company. I'd say one thing that absolutely amazes me is the number of crypto casinos that are anonymous. Um, to me, I like I never bet serious amount of money on a casino where I don't know who the founders are. Me, that's a minimum. Like, if I'm saying to someone, trust us with your money, come deposit thousands, 10,000 millions of dollars with me, feels at a minimum I should tell them who I am. So to me, if someone's starting out as an operator, I say, well, number one is you got to be like upfront, like who you are, if you want users to trust you. But it does. Like, there's a lot of casinos out there. Some of the big ones, the founders are anonymous, and I personally am amazed at that. I'm amazed that players are like, that doesn't matter. You you seem good for the money, and I always am view, well, like, yeah, you're good for it until the day you're not. I just think for being public about who you are is like, that to me is the bare minimum.
But why it is still rare to see public founders in the crypto gambling space?
So I think there's a couple of reasons. I think that one is that historically, particularly the US, had a very adversarial relationship towards crypto. And so even very legitimate projects uh, had anonymous founders. They're like, it just became kind of part of the culture that, like, we're not hiding anything, but it's just not, like, it's not in our interest to be public. And so it sort of became part of the culture. I think that is shifting. The US regulatory position towards crypto is incredible, how much it's shifted from extremely adversarial to extremely embracing it. And I think we're now seeing where projects are now being much more public. Okay, here's the founders. We're going to like stand behind the project. So I'm seeing that outside crypto casino. And I think we're also starting to see it in crypto casino as well. Like, I'm seeing some of the new projects, the founders are being public about who they are. And I think that's a good thing. I think we are also going to see more of a, maybe consolidation's the wrong term, but like, less of having hundreds and hundreds of anonymous crypto casinos with like no product innovation launching. I think we're going to start to see more crypto casinos launching with main founders that have raised venture capital, that are focused on building a differentiated product. Like, that's normal for industry as it matures. I think we're going to see more of that.
Do you think like there is like I mean, you mentioned things which I totally agree with. It's been like built in private mode with anonymous guys, and it's been the way crypto exists, like Satoshi, the guy, no one knows who the guy is, right? So it feels like it's anonymous by default, by design, right? So and do you think there is a shift going on right now towards these crypto casinos are being no longer treated well by the audience, and like as you mentioned that there are like funds, even like mainstream funds investing in this space. So do you think there is a certain mainstream adoption of Web3 as the whole in the gambling niche? And second, do you think is like, from the player perspective, it's getting closer to the mainstream adoption also? Because if you think about, the scene like 2 years ago, people were not too keen to play in the crypto casinos, whether now it feels like they'd rather play in crypto casino against, some of the locally licensed regulators. operators?
It's a good question. And I think, yes, both. So firstly, um, if we look at crypto VCs, historically, they didn't invest in crypto casinos. They were typically like self-funded, or they were funded through angels. But we've seen, really in the last 2 years, a dramatic increase in the number of VCs that are actually investing. So on ourselves, like Six Man Ventures, they'd never invested in a crypto casino before. They've leaned into it with us. But we've seen a bunch of others as well. So they are now seeing it's a really good category. They're seeing a lot of innovation, and they're now actively investing in the category, which is great. But we're also seeing, the other thing I think has been really interesting is the consumer adoption of stablecoins. We only just saw last week that Stripe is launching its own L1 with its own stablecoin. Um, that to me, like stablecoins adoption over the last 2 years has been incredible. But once we get a player like Stripe that power billions or trillions of dollars of transactions, we can really see stablecoin volume just go through the roof. And that to me, when it becomes as easy to just, go and play in a crypto casino as it does in a fiat one, because in my view, it's a better product and it is a better product. I think we could see I would nearly say, I made this observation before. It's like, I don't think in 5 years' time we're going to have crypto casinos, because every casino is going to either accept crypto. It's just going to be part of the thing. It's not going to be a different category. It would be crazy for every casino not to accept crypto. So that's kind of my viewpoint over 5 years. Now, that's kind of the international market. I think the onshore market may be slower because regulators are just, they're not quite there. But that will change as well.
So yeah, talking a little bit more about regulation and Web3. So do you think it should be like regulated by the local regulators, or they should be operating by like as you mentioned, like the offshore license? And because it feels like there are like a lot of misconceptions regulators have about the Web3 gambling these days.
Yeah, it's a bit of a nuanced answer. I think it depends by country. So some countries that we operate in don't really have any regulation, and some have regulation, but there's kind of an understanding that the offshore market operates and it exists. Um, some are moving towards bringing it onshore, and we saw that in Brazil recently, and I think that's great. Uh, and then some that are very clear that it is an onshore business. So, for example, we don't operate in the U.S. The U.S. is regulated onshore. If you're not licensed in New Jersey, you don't operate in New Jersey, which we do not. And so, for those ones, if we were wanted to, we would go through the process of getting licensed in New Jersey. Now, the problem is for us is that we want to continue to operate as a crypto operator because we just think that's where the most innovation is. And to come onshore into the US would mean that we would have to give up crypto. And so we kind of want to get regulators get to the point where they're like, no, crypto is a way to but that's just going to take some time.
Yeah, I agree with you. Okay, so I think the last question for our session today now is, can you explain the portrait of the crypto user? Because like sometimes I hear that, it's a totally different audience. So who is the player? Is this like a crypto, like enthusiast, like someone who lives and breathes crypto, or someone who came to play in these casinos just like, as you mentioned, it's a better design, it's a better gameplay, it's like a better experience and community overall. So who is this like player?
Yeah, I think my biggest surprise was that there was a real distinction between people who were on, say, crypto Twitter and really, really into Web3 and the typical crypto Twitter or crypto casino player. Actually, there's some overlap, definitely is some overlap, but not nearly as much as we thought. I would look at our crypto casino players, and what surprised me was, they play a lot in stable coins. So they're not really actively looking for exposure to Bitcoin. They're thrilled. Like there's probably they're typically thrill seeking. It's an entertainment product. Whereas what we saw with the crypto Twitter side are more, I think they're more like a kind of the poker audience. They've convinced themselves that they're like better than other people, that they can seek an edge and they can play it. Whereas the crypto casino people are a little bit more like, they don't even think about that. They're like, no, I just want to play. I want to, I want to bet. I want to win big or lose big. Like that's, how they're thinking about it. Whereas the crypto people on Twitter are more like, I would never play a game where it was EV negative, to use their terminology. Like that's not remotely interesting to me. Now, what they will do is they'll play games that they think are EV positive and lose tens of thousands of dollars, which is kind of hilarious. But they would be like, they would draw the line on playing a game that, on paper is EV negative, even though they might win money in the short run.
Yeah, absolutely love it, and I totally agree with you here. I I want to really appreciate you breaking down this complex Web3 and crypto ideas, Nigel, and most importantly, showing us how they connect to player trust and platform integrity, and what's the future of crypto gambling is. So thank you so much, Nigel. I really enjoyed these 2 episodes with you, and I hope our audience will.
Great, thank you.